everybody. I'm glad you like the music. Definitely music makes Zoom meetings all the more fun, as does Jamboard, even though we all don't know what we're doing in that and we had a page and now it's gone. It's okay. We'll find it again or we'll figure it out. But hopefully you were able to add some things. If you added things and they're no longer there, we'll come back to that and make sure that we get all things included. So welcome everyone. Happy Digital Inclusion Week. We have a lot of stuff that we are going to do today. So I'm excited to see you all and welcome you all in. My name is Trisha Berry. I am the lead for the Greater Austin STEM ecosystem, your host for today. So you have the agenda there on your screen. We have a few updates and things that I will share with you pretty briefly. Then we have some fabulous folks from Google who are here to give us some tools and tips and tricks using some of their Google tools for education and nonprofits. And you got to play with Jamboard, which is one of the fun Google tools that we have learned to embrace and use a lot in all of the things that we are doing. We then are going to move into some Digital Inclusions Week spotlights. And for those of you that have participated in networking forums in the past, when we've done speed networking in person, we're going to attempt speed networking in Zoom. So we'll see how that goes. We have 3 brave souls who are going to attempt that today. And as always is the case, we're very flexible and gracious and happy when anyone wants to do this. So you have a friendly group that is cheering you on to do these lightning talks. And then we'll finish up with some breakouts, and we'll have 5 breakout rooms that will follow on the digital inclusion conversation, as well as launch into some of our ecosystem action teams. So stick around for those towards the end. We will share everything out afterwards, so make sure that if you do have some community announcements, you get them on that Jamboard or send them to me via email so I can include them later, or throw them in the chat and we'll capture that afterwards as well. So any of those ways, we'll make sure that gets in the communications that go out afterwards to everybody. Okay, so for those of you that might be new to the ecosystem, this is what we tell people we are all about. We're here to foster these deeper collaborations and connections across all of these networks and systems that are working in the STEM spaces. And that's part of what we are doing today with bringing in several to talk about Digital Inclusion Week. We aim to be learning centered. We aim to leverage all these resources that are out there, trying to reduce duplication and amplify the things that everyone else is doing. And with that, hopefully having some collective impact across our ecosystem. Our vision is that all learners in this space can get the STEM skills that they need and desire to head into STEM jobs if they so choose in Central Texas. Of course, we want them all to choose to go that direction. And to make sure that all educators, and by all educators, we mean parents and you all and formal educators and out of school time folks, all different kinds of people that are out there trying to advance all of our learners to have those tools and the support that they need to continue to advance STEM in our ecosystem. So that's what we want to see. So how do we do that? We have networking forums like this. We have community convenings that are maybe focused in on a different theme or topic area. We have amplifications where we're trying to amplify things that are happening, and that's what we've been doing this week with Digital Inclusion Week as an example. And we also have our action teams that we're launching. So you'll hear a little bit more about that in a little bit. Just a few reminders before we get to our fabulous friends from Google. Add your community announcements. I've said that a number of times now, so make sure you get those in. We're also collecting on those Jamboard sheets, Jamboards, some brainstorms. We're getting close to 2021. I don't know how that's possible. I'm not quite sure where time goes in COVID time, but what makes sense for 2021? What are some things that we can continue into the new year? What are some different things we need to think about? Add your brainstorms there. That's going to be part of our action team breakouts as well. But if you think of things or say do more of this or less of whatever, please add them on there or send them our way, and we'll continue to use those as we start to plan for 2021. We're going to share all this info out. So if by chance you made your way to the Zoom link in some random fashion and did not register, make sure you head over to the ecosystem event page and make sure that you're registered on Eventbrite. That's the list that we'll pull to make sure that we send to everybody afterwards. And we're recording, so we'll have this to share out as well. If you need to step away or others want to take advantage, we will have that available. Use the chat. I see lots of people using the chat, so that is awesome. Emily's already sharing all of her fun stuff to help us out with all of these tools. Feel free to throw things in the chat as we go along. We're not a huge number of people, so you can also feel free to come off mute if you need to ask a question or chime in. Okay, so with that, I am going to turn it over to Daniel Lucio with Google Fiber, who is going to take it from here. And you can see at the top, thank you, Google, for snacks. So had we been in person, we would have had amazing snacks, I'm sure of it. We would have been in a fabulous space. We would have been all there to see each other. But here we are all on Zoom, which is not Google, to be able to have our meeting. But I'm excited that we have you here to help share and show off some great things that I know we will all love to learn about.
Thanks. Thanks for having us.
No worries. And my guess is I probably need to make sure that you can share.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. Okay,
that.
I see a thing here that says share screen, so I'm going to try that.
Okay.
Host disabled participant screen share. So
I'm gonna stop my share, and then I'm gonna make sure I let you do that. I was gonna do that earlier. I got too many screens open.
But yeah, this summer has been full of like a ton of meetings that definitely would have been better in person and with tacos.
That's right. All right, you've got the power.
Okay, great. I'm gonna go ahead and put this up. Let's see. We're gonna try this one. Can you see this okay? Okay, cool. I'm gonna trust y'all to jump in and tell me if you can. My colleague Kendall is on here as well. I'm gonna do like a very quick primer on G Suite for nonprofits, and Kendall's gonna talk about Google for Education and some tools that we have under there, and then we're happy to take questions for folks. I think during COVID times, we have seen a huge increase on reliance on a number of different digital tools and platforms, and we've certainly seen that at Google. And so we wanted to just provide some space to be able to talk about it. Okay, it looks like this is a little squished, so I'm going to try to present and see if it's any bigger. Is that any better? Okay, it's better. All right, I'm gonna try to go through these slides. Great. Okay, so we'll start with G Suite for nonprofits. This is an integrated office productivity suite. It includes a ton of tools. I'm gonna talk about a few here, and then we'll get through it. So Gmail, a ton of folks are familiar with this. But not a lot of folks know that you can customize Gmail with your domain when you sign up for Google for Nonprofits. So, it can look like yourorganization.com or that type of thing. And of course, use all the tools that makes Gmail a smart tool to use. Calendar, integrate with online calendars, designed for teams. We use this all the time, obviously at Google, and like looking at other teammates' calendars to try to like grab time with our colleagues. You have the controls to be able to like do that across your organization or not. You could keep calendars private, things like that. Hangouts is another one. Hangouts, I got a question as to whether Hangouts was still going from folks. Hangouts is definitely still a thing. It's a chat function. We primarily use it within Gmail, but it's also its own standalone platform. It is integrated with Google Meet, which is our video conferencing platform. And For this, you can video chat with up to 250 people. That was much less at the beginning of this year. And throughout the summer, a number of our tools have expanded their capacity and capability, including Google Meets, in order to meet the demands of folks who needed very large meetings, kind of like this one, with a number of tools. So Hangouts is part of the suites. Drive, store, access, and share files in a secure place. When you sign up for Google for Nonprofits, you get 30 gigs of storage per user, and you have all sorts of control over permissions and history. If you're an organization, for example, that has to meet HIPAA requirements, and you have to keep history for X amount of time, you've got the ability to control what that looks like. History of documentation, history of chats with folks, things like that. Docs is word processing. You've probably used it at some point, but it's kind of like Word, just in the cloud. And it allows for real-time collaboration. This is all we use at Google. Sheets is another one. I think about it as Excel for the cloud as well. And it also allows you to collaborate in real time with folks. Slides, which I'm using right now, you can use to do presentations. And then forums. And these are some of my, these are some of my favorite things to use. And we use them all the time when we're collecting feedback from community members or partners, but forums are essentially a way to send out surveys to people and then collect that data internally. That's kind of what it looks like. But you can customize them and then of course get responses back in a Google Sheets. And then there's some analytics attached to that as well, which are pretty cool if you've never played around with the analytics portions of our tools. You can create sites at Google, so create an internal or an external site. So if you need to throw up a pop-up site, for example, because you are doing a last-minute program to do, let's say, backpack distribution somewhere, you can literally just spin up a site in a couple of minutes to let folks know, here are the locations and here are your requirements and things of that nature. They also get super, super complex. So for folks that kind of nerd out on building websites, you can do some pretty fun things on it, or just keep it simple. And then of course, it comes with a heavy amount of data protection. So we have a huge infrastructure dedicated to data protection for all of our business, nonprofit, and individual users. You don't get ads. We're not trying to sell you ads on these platforms. You collect and manage your own data. And of course, you can do third-party compliance audits as well on it. I'm going to send this link around, but this is basically how to get enrolled in G Suite for nonprofits. I know I've talked to at least a couple people on this call about how they enroll their organizations over the past couple of years, and happy to do that some more. I'm going to talk just really quickly about a couple more tools and then hand it off to Kendall. Donation tools, not a lot of folks know about this one. We have a donation tool called One Today. It is used on a browser or a mobile app, and it's designed to raise awareness, expand your donor base. I'm going to skip to a couple of slides here. So these are some challenges that nonprofits have in raising funds. So raising awareness, donation apps have expensive surcharges, donors only give one time. We try to solve that in this app. We make sure that any donations that are given gives 100% of that donation back to the nonprofit through the Network for Good. We allow individuals to pledge at one time or do multiple or schedule them in advance or monthly, things like that. And we have tools. Actually, I think the coolest part, I'm going to skip to this part, is that using this tool allows you to show up in search. So if you've ever used Google, our homepage, right? a lot of times you'll see the sidebar pop up with information. You know, sometimes it's a Wikipedia article. If you're on IMDb, it might be like snippets of whatever film that you have there. This is a sidebar feature that shows up for your nonprofit that allows someone to donate directly. I think this is actually the most useful feature of this. So if you're an organization looking to fundraise and you want some sort of side card on Google to show up, you can use this tool. And then we also have YouTube for nonprofits, which is like its own program with a lot of support, content creation support on it. I'm not going to do the demo video. I'm just going to kind of blaze through some of this. But in general, YouTube for nonprofits lets you tell the story of your organization, and it serves a lot of different functions. I mean, I think we've seen that video is extremely important. Recorded video has been extremely important historically to folks that are on this platform. So 38% of nonprofits are discovered through non-branded search, 39% of engagement lift amongst those that watched nonprofit videos, 90% of nonprofits in the last 6 months compared to 65% of the public. I think this is referring to like how much engagement and how much donations have been driven through YouTube. A lot of folks don't think about YouTube as like a donation mechanism, but it absolutely is. It helps drive donations. I'm gonna skip to this, which is kind of like a cheat sheet of what you get when you register for it, and registration for this is free for this program. So you get Google for Nonprofit tools, you get early access to YouTube Spaces. You could be featured on the YouTube Impact Lab, which is like this whole suite of tools to help nonprofits get content out there. Again, happy to talk about this in more detail if folks have questions, but I'm gonna make sure that this link also gets in the chat, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Kendall. I don't know if Kendall's on. I think she is.
I am. I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. I'm getting a little bit of feedback on sound, and I'm in kind of a rural area.
I'm going to mute myself here. So.
Okay, beautiful. You are in control of the slides, though, so we're just going to try and play this game together. So, hi, y'all. I'm Kendall Moore. I am on the Google for Education team. I have been based out of the Austin office for the past 3 years, and was just actually moved to the Google Chicago office during the pandemic. So I'm really excited to be here. And Danny did a great job of covering some of the products that we have that go beyond just the Gmail that you see every day. I really do encourage you to kind of click on what we call the waffle, which is in the top right-hand corner of your Chrome screen, and just see what other products are out there. So there's some really cool solutions that people just don't know about that come with your Google subscription. So with Google for Education, I serve K through 12s in the public school arena. As long as you are a nonprofit school, you qualify for Google for Education. So unfortunately, those private schools don't qualify at this time. If you want to go to the next slide. So this is what this is what was the one I was hoping was going to pop up. So G Suite for Education is just like the G Suite that you use on a regular basis. So it comes with the docs and the slides and all those sorts of things. You can see those icons up there in the list, but there are a few extras. So that Blackboard that you see, the fifth one in is Google Classroom, and that is our tool that allows our educators to create, grade, and collect assignments and share instant feedback and give quizzes, and it is basically a virtual classroom. Jamboard is also up there, which I know that you guys are now really familiar with, since that's how you're sharing some of your announcements, which was really cool to hear. And then we encourage the use of Chromebooks. So if you've ever used a Chromebook, you know it's basically just a web browser on a device, and anything that you need to access on the web, you can do through a Chromebook. We see a lot of schools using Chromebooks because they are very cost efficient and virtually indestructible unbelievable. I watched one of our vendors run one over with a tractor and it still worked. So really good for our elementary school students and their sticky little fingers. And then Chromebook App Hub is at the bottom there. So what I'm going to do today, since I'm sure you know all about Gmail and you know how to find some of those tools, and you know all about docs and slides, I'm sure you've played with them, I'm going to go into a few of my favorite lesser known pieces of Google for Education. So if you want to click to the next slide. So this is the list. Oh, you can go back one just for 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so this is the list that we kind of just went through, but it breaks it down into everything that you can do with all of those different things. But just so you know what you're looking at when you're looking at those symbols, you have the collaborate, the management, manage your classrooms, communication, and then administration. I'm not going to dive too deep into those. If you want to go to the next slide. So these are the three that I'm going to cover quickly today. I believe I only have 10 minutes left. Danny, nod if that's correct. I want to make sure that I'm respecting everybody's time. But I'm going to jump into Jamboard, App Hub, and some of the community training that we have available. And head to the next slide. So I don't really need to tell you what Jamboard is. It was very exciting to see you guys hop on here and be using it. It is one of my favorite products that we have, and I really think that it is underutilized in our classrooms. So it is a collaborative digital whiteboard. And at first when we came out with it, it came with a big, clunky, several $1,000 whiteboard that you needed to use it. But then we quickly realized that you don't need that in order to use what's in the app. So Jamboard is both app-based and browser-based. If you are using it through the browser, it's great. It's a great tool, but you're doing yourself a disservice because the app version is so much better. You can use it to create beautiful whiteboards. You can use it to collect information like you do. One of my favorite uses that I've seen in a classroom is a history teacher had a very complex and beautiful timeline that he was using for his class, but he had to present that class 5 times to 5 different sets of students. So he made a beautiful Jamboard and he saved it in his drive. And for each class, he would pull it down and he could mark it up for that class. And his students could take that and save that into their drive as well. So a cool thing about Jamboard is that if you have kids who have devices, they can also log in and work on the same jam with you, or you can just use it as a present only, but each one of your kids will have that same information on their screen as well. Like I said, the app version is a lot better. If you download the app, you'll see these tools off to the side. One of them, I call it the magic wand. I'm not exactly sure what it is supposed to be, but it's basically a stick with some sparkles at the end. And that helps you draw shapes. And I know that sounds so silly, but bear with me because I am not an artist, so this tool was revolutionary for me. Google has used some of their artificial intelligence and computer learning to predict what people are drawing. So if you go into the Jamboard tool and you click that sparkly little magic wand thing, and you are drawing a house, even if it's crooked, even if it has no windows or a door, Google's going to guess what you're drawing and give you an option to add a piece of like clip art in the place of your drawing. So, you know, poor drawing is not going to be a hindrance to telling the story that you're trying to tell. You have those options to pull those pictures in really quickly. There is another sparkly little tool in there, which is the handwriting tool, and it does the same thing. You can write as messy as you want, and so we said innovatively creepy. That is the best way to describe it. You can write as messy as you want, and it will convert it into a text that's easier to read. But yes, so please explore Jamboard, please click around, try it out. It is a really fun tool to be using. You can head to the next slide. So Chromebook App Hub, this is one that is not super well known, and I love it. So with our Chromebooks, we know that it is a very basic tool. It's one of the reasons why we love it. It works, and that's all we need it to do. But there are so many possibilities out there on ways to use a Chromebook, and especially for the classroom, it can get a little bit overwhelming trying to navigate all the apps that are out there, all the options that we have. So we've come up with the Chromebook App Hub, and the App Hub is specifically geared towards education users. All of the apps that are on there, which I believe there's over 200 now, but don't quote me on that, but there are quite a few, are companies and developers that we have partnered with to ensure that they are going to have a continued commitment to the education space. So each one of these apps is proven to have an education use case. They've been used successfully in the classroom, and each one of them is detailed as to what they're good to be used for. For each one you click on, you will see the description of the app and what it does. It may have like a demo in there, and then it has a way to contact the creators of the app or whoever you need to purchase it through or download it through if it's a free app. Along with any of the compliance and security questions or security information for each one of the apps. Just puts it all in one place. You know it's going to work for you. You know it's going to work for your kids. And it's definitely worth clicking through. If you want to head to the next slide. So these are some of the apps that I was talking about. It says 120, but this is definitely a little outdated because I'm pretty sure we've hit 200 at this point. You see Adobe Spark in there, Khan Academy, Screencastify, some of our favorites, some of the that we've heard about for years now, but all of them are stored in there so you can see how they're being used. You want to go to the next slide. So one of the other things that's in the App Hub that's really cool are idea sparks. So sparks are some use cases that we've collected from our educators in ways that they have successfully used both Google tools and the additional apps that are in the App Hub. And you can share and see really creative ways to engage your kids on different learning topics. These are contributed by EdTech Team, which is one of our partners, and then our certified innovators and certified trainers. So you get the best of the best and you just get to steal their ideas and use them as your own, which is perfect. That's what we like. You can go to the next slide. This is the information that I was referring to earlier. You will find the developer data and accessibility policies, as well as guidance on like the student data privacy stuff from our partners and best practices on how to develop for Chrome OS and more. Click through, there's lots to learn. So this is the last one that I wanted to jump in on. I think we're closing in on our time and I want to make sure that you have time for questions as well. Professional development, both for our educators, but also for our community has become critical, especially as we are distance learning. So here are a few resources that we have available for our educators or for people who are working with kids at this time. Our professional development partners or our PD partners are brilliant. We are a small team and can only do what we can do, and we really do scale through our professional development partners. We have quite a few. You heard me mention EdTech Team. Fried Technology is another favorite of mine, and they have an incredible YouTube page, so I would encourage you to check them out. They are based out of Houston, so not technically local, but Texan, and we all know that's best. So with certified trainers, that is part of our certification process, so let's put the certified trainers and certifications together. That's at the end. We have several layers of certifications for educators. And believe me, not all of you need to be certified teachers or have your certifications, but what you do need to know is that all of that training on there is free and available. So if you go to the Teacher Center, which is listed in the middle there, you will not only find forums where teachers have shared resources and people can ask questions, and you'll see a lot of active educators answering those questions, but you'll also see training that's been put together by Google that will help you embrace all the different aspects of the tools, whether you're in the classroom or teaching your kids in different ways. You can head to the next page. This is another one that I wanted to be sure to point out, especially because we are in the nonprofit space. Google has worked really hard to improve our narrative with families. So we know with distance learning that knowing how to use the tools is just as critical as being able to connect, right? Like we can work as hard as we can to get devices in the hands of kids. We can get them connected to the internet, but if they don't know how to access the material, we might as well have handed them a boulder. So we have quite a few resources that are linked here, and I will make sure that those are linked properly. I stole this slide from someone else, but we'll make sure to get those to you. We have a ton of resources for families. The tech toolkit has links to videos that have been made both by our marketing team and also educators in the field that have just the basics, just videos on the basics. How do you log in? How do you write an email? How do you switch accounts? All of those critical skills that if your parent doesn't know how to do it, you as a second grader are not going to be able to figure it out. So I encourage you to check that out and find out some of the resources that we have in the tech toolkit. There's an email template that you can send to your parents that help them understand how you're using technology, in addition to, you know, some FAQs and best practices. So just remember our parents, let's be kind to them. We're all just doing our best right now as we're all trying to keep our kids learning and moving forward with distance learning. I believe that's my last slide. Danny, will you click one more time just to make sure? Okay, cool, I was right. Here for questions. I think we're knocking on our time right now, so I want to be respectful of who comes next.
We definitely have some time for questions, so you feel free to unmute yourself. I know there's been some questions in the chat, and I think Danny's been answering those as they've been coming in. But feel free to unmute and ask away.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So I have a question. This is Nehemiah Fitz with the City of Austin Community Technology and Telecommunications Commission. I love your waffle, and I've been using your waffle for some time now. We leverage them for working group meetings. We leverage them for a variety of things. Although, of course, the commission is not a nonprofit, neither is the City of Austin. Although, as most, I think everyone knows, none of the commissioners are paid. And so we operate certainly with a lean and mean spirit. And I'm curious, with that in mind, if there would be access provided perhaps to commissioners or other people like myself that might want to leverage the platform that are operating in the nonprofit space, but that clearly are not nonprofits themselves.
That's a great question, Commissioner. And Kendall, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but generally, in my experience, the G Suite for nonprofits has been pretty strict about restricting it to 501c3s. And so, you know, a lot of the tools, I would say almost all of them in the G Suite for nonprofits are available to individual accounts. So, you know, if you want to use a Gmail account to leverage Google Calendar or things like that, but in terms of an organizational registration, they do require 501c3, and I've tried to help a couple of organizations get through without it, and it just has not worked. So unfortunately, yeah, that's kind of where it's at.
That's okay. I appreciate your candor, Danny.
Yeah.
Glad you're feeling better too.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah, I mean, on that topic, like Danny said, I think all of the tools that I spoke about today are available through consumer accounts. So as long as you're okay with it being your name at gmail.com versus your name at commissioner.com, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You can still use all the tools that we talked about today.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Other than we will share all the stuff out, so you'll get those links and get everything. So if you were trying to rapidly take notes or screenshots and stuff, it's okay. It's all coming your way.
I do have a question. So I'm a nonprofit, and I don't necessarily need all of education, nor am I able to go completely G Suite because my organization lovingly partners with Microsoft. But if I was okay with using my personal Gmail, is Jamboard available for someone that's just using their personal Gmail as well? Or do you is that specifically only a part of the G Suite education products?
Nope, you can definitely use Jamboard just with your @gmail.com. Again, download the app, it's way better. I would also say that we have tons of organizations that use both Microsoft and Gmail, though if you're partnered with Microsoft, I'm not sure they're gonna let you go hybrid. But just so you know, you can have both turned on at the same time and it won't affect your usage of the Microsoft side as well.
That is way above my pay grade, Kendall. I'll just be real honest with you, but the only thing, because I have been fighting for G Suite and Slack instead of Microsoft Teams for a while, and it came down to policy, I think. And yeah, it was way above my pay grade though. So thanks for that info.
Yeah. Take it away with Jamboard. You can still use it just on the DL.
So I'll throw a question out there for Jamboard, since we faced this today with our community effort of editing on Jamboard. Is there a way to like lock down a page so people can't accidentally delete it?
I don't know, and I was really scared you were going to ask me that question. I don't believe that there is, but let me look into. So with just so everyone else knows, especially if you're working with kids in a collaborative space, almost all of the Google products allow you to access different versions. So if you have kids who are going in and writing naughty words or deleting an entire thing, like you guys did when I came in here, you can go back a version and then either see who wrote it or see that information. But I'm not sure if that's true with Jamboard. Trisha, I can let you know.
Fair enough. We'll figure it out. Someone else had a question.
I've got a question about Classroom. If someone has sent me a link to join them through the Google Classroom and I can't seem to join on with that, is that because they have not given me permission to be part of that classroom, or is any suggestions?
Yeah, so I'm not sure at what point in the process you are. So this may be a little bit of a jumbled answer. Number one, there are tons and tons of support articles that can walk you through step-by-step on how to join a classroom, and kind of talk you through whatever error is coming up better than I'm going to be able to.
Okay.
But what I would say is you do need to go in and join the class. So if you go up to that waffle up in the corner and you type in the code that they gave you, that should allow you to join the class. It may be, if you're trying to do it with a non-Gmail account, so like what we call an enterprise account or one that's like run by your employer, that may be restricted by your admin. So again, check out the support article because that'll help you figure out what is going on in there.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
All right, any last question? Okay, well, thank you. That was amazing. I think we all are ready to go play now and play with some new tools and learn some new tricks. And I know at some point in the future, we will come to Google so that we can see you all in person. But thank you for hosting today. The food was amazing. We appreciate that greatly. But thank you all so much for joining in today.
Thank you, Trisha. Thanks all.
All right. So with that, let's go back over here. And I have so many things on my screen again that I have to move things. Okay, so we have now our Digital Inclusion Week Spotlight. So let me tell you how this will work for those of our fabulous folks that are presenting. We have DECA, Autumn, and Austin Freenet. They are here, they are ready. They have timed slides. So just so you all know, your last slide is about a minute so that the next person can know they have a little bit of time, and everyone's first slide is 45 seconds or so. So you have a little bit more time to get in there and get going. And if all else fails, I can always back up. So you can always say, back that one up, I wasn't quite ready. Or if you get done with a slide and we're still sitting there because it has a minute on it or something like that, you can say next slide and I can click. All right, so DECA, y'all are up first. Amelia, are you up?
Yes.
You ready?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm ready.
I'm gonna hit the button and then the timer's gonna go.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I just want to thank you, Trisha, and thank the Greater Austin STEM ecosystem for having us today and for hosting this forum. My name is Amelia, and I'm an AmeriCorps Vista with the City of Austin in their Office of Telecommunications and Regulatory Affairs. And today I will be sharing some information with you all about the Digital Empowerment Community of Austin, aka DECA. You can go to the next one. Thank you. So what is DECA? DECA is a network of stakeholders, including nonprofits and educational institutions, and it meets bi-weekly to discuss the different methods possible to increase digital inclusion efforts here in Austin. And the first convening of DECA was actually in 2015. And this was in lieu with the City of Austin's Digital Inclusion Strategic Plan, which came out originally in 2014. And the purpose of that was to brainstorm and think through the different challenges that the city was facing in closing the digital divide for residents, and also to identify potential community solutions to address the issue. Next slide. Thank you. So if you were wondering who currently is participating in DECA, here on the slide listed are just a few of the many examples of current participants and past participants who have been involved recently with DECA, including the Austin Urban Technology Movement and Austin Freenet, who will also be sharing a little bit more about their wonderful organizations in the next few lightning rounds. And all of the organizations that are involved with DECA have some stake or some interest in implementing inclusive and accessible measures to improve digital inclusion and equity here in Austin. And here are some examples of recent initiatives that DECA has discussed and implemented lately, including device refurbishment and distribution, digital literacy training, workforce development, AISD partnerships to get devices to families, and also efforts to reach out to other local school districts as well to address the needs of both teachers and students' families as well. Compiling COVID-19 community resources, as you can see towards the right of the slide, and also hosting efforts for Digital Inclusion Week, which we'll be talking about in the next slide. Yeah, so as a lot of you may know, this week is Digital Inclusion Week. We're right in the middle of it. And here are some of the events that DECA has put together for this week. Something that's really exciting is that DECA is hosting a poster competition, which is the first of its kind. And it is open now up until October 23rd. And Austin youth between the ages of 10 and 18 are able to submit their artwork, either physical or digital, to be considered for this competition. And their art should answer or relate to the question, what does digital equity mean to you? And we'll be providing 3 monetary prizes for that, so that's super exciting. There will also be an upcoming special Community Technology and Telecommunications Commission meeting this coming Friday at 3:30 p.m. And it'll be a special conversation centered on digital equity. And Austin Freenet is also hosting a free access tech hotline, which will provide free IT and tech services to anyone who calls in on Friday. And that'll be between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. You can find more information about Digital Inclusion Week on the link on the slide, including our calendar for events and also information for submitting for the contest and that link as well. And if your organization is interested in joining DECA and helping further digital inclusion and equity efforts here in Austin, we would love for you to join us. So now I'll just go over the steps necessary for that. So to participate in DECA, all you really need to do is participate in our DECA calls. And these DECA calls occur bi-weekly on Wednesdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. We actually just had one today. So our next one will be 2 weeks from now. And again, all you have to do to be a part of the DECA community is just to attend these meetings. They're really informative. Oftentimes they're used to provide community updates or identify potential areas for collaboration between organizations, and also avoid duplication efforts that organizations are pursuing in the realm of digital inclusion and equity. And also just to check in with each other during this unprecedented time, make sure that everyone is doing okay. It really is a community, which is really wonderful. And these calls are hosted on Google Meet every 2 weeks. The link is provided on the slide. The link never changes. You can also call in at the number listed if that's easier for you with the PIN listed. Also provided on this slide is the link to the COVID-19 community resources, because I do think they're really helpful. And it also gives you the option to share your own organization's resources if you would like, and they can be featured on that page. And we also have resources for digital literacy curriculum and standards for organizations, which might be helpful. And those can also be found on that same webpage. You can go to the next one. Thank you. And if you have any questions or like any more information on DECA or Digital Inclusion Week, I definitely recommend looking at our website, which is digitalatx.com. And from here, you can see our digital inclusion calendar. You can also sign up for the DECA newsletter, which is really helpful and informative. And you can access that through the communications page on Digital ATX. We also recommend joining our Google group, which is listed there for general updates and reminders for meetings. And if you'd like more information for meetings or any questions about DECA, I recommend that you reach out to Jesse Rodriguez at the listed email on the slide, but I'm also here to answer any questions and provide any more information about Digital Inclusion Week during the breakouts. But thank you so much. That's it for me. And I hope that I will see some of you at our next DECA meeting.
Perfect. So I guess I'll just jump right into it. But hi, everyone. My name is Michael Wood Jr., and I'm the president and CEO of Autumn, also known as Austin Urban Technology Movement. We connect the Black and Hispanic community with the tech industry. We do job placements, career development, and networking opportunities, all in all to increase the representation of the global majority inside the tech space. So there's a lot of work that we're doing around workforce development, but also digital equity to ensure that there are several different opportunities for our communities to make that transition inside the tech space. And I got my start in technology doing software enterprise sales at Oracle. So I was not a technical person at all. I was non-technical, but I became technical by really diving into the ecosystem and diving into the industry, which is what we hope to do within the students that we serve today. So why do we do that? Well, we do that because, number one, there's a lack of diversity inside the tech industry today. If you look at the US population, this was taken in 2017, but if you look at the numbers that shows where the Hispanics and Black population is in retrospect to the actual tech companies, we have a long way to go. Only Amazon is actually in double digits, where majority of the other tech companies are in the single digits. So you have a lot of room to grow when we talk about upward mobility for both Hispanics and Blacks within inside this space to really diversify the overall representation that we're seeing. Next slide. Perfect. Well, why does this matter? This matters because even till this day, we still have pay equity issues. We have it going down from Hispanic men, Hispanic women, Black men, Black women. And as you can see, Black women are at the bottom where they're making 79 cents to the dollar. This is a little outdated, but I do believe it's actually 62 cents to the dollar where Black women make. So like I say, we have a long way to go. We definitely do. As we talk about getting more individuals to the tech industry, as we do that, we can significantly see their overall income and salary increases. But then we also need to talk about things that we need to do internally to actually improve the quality overall. So we have equity, but then you also have equality, and what does that look like? And one way we could address that is by really focusing heavily about the individuals that we're transitioning inside the tech space, and once they're there, giving them the tools and resources to be successful. Well, why does this matter? This matters because the Texas demographics are changing. We are no longer a majority white state. That is not the trend anymore. You can see from 2000 to 2010 to 2017, Texas is becoming majority non-white. If we're transferring or becoming majority non-white, however, we're not educating our non-white community to really fill the jobs that come in the future. But now we're doing a disservice to Texans. We're doing a disservice to what the overall future workforce looks like which is why we have a huge focus around connectivity, around internet access. And that leads us to our stake around internet access and how that's such a need right now, especially with the spread of COVID-19. And so this data right here shows that roughly 88.5% of the population has access to connectivity or have access to download speeds of 100 up, 10 down, or 100 down, 10 up. However, not everyone has that access. So when we talk about access and you talk about quality access, you have to ask yourself, if you don't have the right quality of access, are you able to continue doing the work that you're doing? Whether you're a student, whether you're a teacher, whether you're an adult, what does that look like? And when we look at Austin top 10 advertised jobs, majority of these jobs are within inside the STEM field. Majority of these jobs require at least internet access. Majority of these jobs require for you to really be engaged inside the tech industry and have the digital skills that are needed to survive in the 21st century. Even though we still see these data sets and we know what those jobs are, we still have a huge gap of tech talent that we are developing, of STEAM talent that we're developing, and we're just widening the gap between the actual jobs that are out there and the skill sets that are needed in our community. When we look at Austin's top 25 skills in demand, if you eliminate customer service and sales, even those are definitely inside the tech industry, that's how I got started. Majority of the top 25 skills in demand are all tech related. You have software development, you have customer contact, you have SQL, you have Java, Python, quality assurance, software engineering. I mean, just look at the top 25 skills, how heavy set there are around technology. Now, like, these are just the trends, these are the data sets, but yeah, we're not producing enough individuals to fill those jobs. From this standpoint, you see on this slide, it has Austin top 10 tech jobs. All those tech jobs, you're making over $50,000 except for one. So we're talking about eliminating poverty, eliminating the digital divide. It's very easy. Let's train people and get them into tech. Job done. I don't think that we need to overcomplicate it more so than that, because the tech industry is so complex. There's so many ways to work inside technology, even if you like education, healthcare, finance, etc. But let's give people the tools needed in order to actually make that transition so they can become self-sustaining. So how do we do that? Well, number one, our mission is to connect the Black and Hispanic community with the tech industry. But our vision is to increase the representation of the global majority while also leading diversity, equity, and inclusion practices in the city of Austin. So that means we're doing everything that we have to in order to remove the barriers for our community members to not just have access to technology, but adopt it, know how to use it, work in it, build in it, and then from there, be able to create whatever they choose to create and really spur innovation in our society. So on the left-hand side, you see our programs where we have a Day in a Life and Horizons. This is an opportunity to connect Black and Hispanic students with Black and Hispanic professionals. In the middle, we have workforce development. We have our job board for those individuals that have the skill sets today. But then we also have internships, boot camps, and apprenticeships to fit them in wherever it makes sense. What is the next step for you in your career pathway? And let's do that. And then on the right-hand side, we have our curated corporate events and our Rethink Austin at South by Southwest. We're community partners with South by Southwest, and Rethink Austin is rethinking the trajectory of the city. What do we need to do differently to stop the divide between whites and non-whites, educated, uneducated, experienced, unexperienced, and etc. So how do you connect with Autumn? Well, you can go to our website, which is www.autmtx.org. You can sign up for our Autumn Learn application, where we house online curriculum for free for the community members. So if you're interested in blockchain, AI, software engineering, go to our website, download our application. You can take a screenshot of that QR code and you can download the app for you right now. And you can also sign up for our newsletter. We have weekly newsletter where we are promoting our events, promoting community events, promoting what's happening during Digital Inclusion Week, and letting the community know that this is how you get inside the tech industry, and this is what it really means to be a part of this ecosystem. So what else are we doing? We have our petition right now, which we have over 1,800 signatures, and our petition is demanding Governor Abbott to increase access to the internet, technology devices, and upskilling opportunities in technology for those that are low income, underserved, and underrepresented. Once again, I don't really see this problem being that difficult. It's all about communication, collaborative, and being consistent with whatever effort that we have in our community, because there's great work being done. However, we're not doing enough work or having a deep enough impact to actually tip the scale. And that's really what we're looking for, and which is why I'm very excited for the breakout rooms that we're going to have later today to really talk through, how can we be strategic, how can we strategize to really reshape this ecosystem to make sure the members of our communities are actually a part of it. So I invite you to join us. Go to our website to donate, to volunteer, to be a part of the Autumn community. You have our social media handles there as well, which is @AUTMTX. We're always looking for ways to collaborate and just amplify the great work that everyone's doing. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to continuing to talk with you all throughout the event today and throughout the remainder of the year.
All right, I guess I'm supposed to take it from here. Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Amelia. Very valuable information that you've shared out. I hope that I can do you two justice here. I am Sky Downing, Executive Director of Austin Freenet. Austin Freenet has been working to bridge the digital divide in Texas since 1995. We have enjoyed a very strong partnership with the City of Austin for all 25 of those years. And we provide basic digital skills training and technological access inside of our underserved communities. Prior to the pandemic, you can go ahead and change the slide, sorry, thank you. Prior to the pandemic, we provided over 150 hours of digital literacy training weekly at 15 to 18 sites around Austin and inside of 5 public access computer labs, including one inside of the Austin Resource Center for the Homeless. As of March 13th, as with everyone else, all peer-to-peer services were suspended and we moved into our active response mode in partnership with the city. We have been able to keep our public access computer lab open at the DeWitty Training and Resource Center on the east side of Austin for the provision of essential services by appointment only. This means we accept appointment requests via phone and email and hopefully soon via text as well between the hours of 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. We are operating our lab at 25% capacity in order to maintain safe social distancing, and we require the use of gloves and masks as well as performing mandatory temperature checks upon arrival. In addition to these precautions, the city has also installed for us protective plexiglass partitions in between all of the workstations and at our lab tech workstation as well. We can serve up to 150 clients per week in this current situation. And in April, May, and June, we were able to serve 865 clients in a total of 364 hours of service. 271 of those clients required one-on-one service from us or one-on-one assistance from us. So we definitely see the continued value of keeping this resource available and are incredibly grateful that we've been able to safely do so during pandemic and stay boots on the ground with our community. Let's see here. For appointments, you can call 512-974-1463 or email us at workforce@austinfree.net. In April, we partnered with Austin Independent School District and the City of Austin in order to refurbish and distribute 200 computers that the city had donated to the cause. These computers were slated for AISD families in need. On April 18th, we hosted a drive-through device pickup event where those 200 devices were distributed. We have since accepted, refurbished, and redistributed nearly 400 computers to date and have, fingers crossed, if everybody comes through with their offerings, nearly 278 more devices in queue at this time. But we know the need is much greater than this, with a 40% gap in AISD students who have access. So 40% of our AISD students lack access, let me rephrase that, which is equal to a need for 15,000 devices still, and that's just in Austin alone. If you or your agency or anyone you know would like to donate devices, you can call us at 737-238-6787 or email access@austinfree.net. We knew that in putting computers into the homes of folks that had not had them before and who lacked access, that it was imperative that we provided them additional support. So we created our Access Tech Hotline and support system so that those recipient families could call us with any basic tech needs as they adjust to their new device inside of their household. We also provide glossy, colorful, full color printed quick setup guides in both English and Spanish. And we bookmark an online resource page on every desktop so that they can access our digitized basic skills curriculum, which is also produced in English and Spanish. Okay, we can go ahead and move slides. Another program that Austin Freenet provides is the Accelerate program. And we had to pivot this program. This is our IT certification program. We had to pivot this program immediately. We had a class starting 1 week after pandemic officially took hold on the Austin community. So we had to migrate that classroom online within 1 week, and we were successful in doing so. Accelerate is a workforce development IT certification training. Students can achieve up to 5 IT certifications in IT Fundamentals Plus, A Plus, Core 1 and Core 2, Security Plus, and Network Plus, which these are the preferred credentials inside of the information technology profession. These classes are offered free of charge to all qualified applicants, and candidates must be between candidates must be 18 years of age or older and make less than 200% of the federal poverty limit. For more information on the Accelerate program, you can visit our website and the Accelerate page. So additionally, during COVID, other initiatives that we have been working on we have been participating as part of the Social Isolation Task Force, which has a focus on our senior population, who we find to be the most isolated in this pandemic. We are putting together a tech pilot, which will provide, via support from the United Way, by the way, we will be able to provide 25 seniors with a tablet on which to learn and 15 to 20 hours of digital skills training in the virtual environment. And then at the end of that learning, they will be able to keep that tablet in order to access telehealth, food delivery, keep in touch with their families and friends, so on and so forth. We also partner with the Talker Foundation on a rural library mobile hotspot initiative, providing 10 hotspots to each of 23 rural libraries over the next year. We are providing basic, intermediate, and advanced skills training inside of the city department inside of the city's watershed department for their field workers. And we're hoping to expand that programming throughout the city departments in need. And we have also provided basic digital skills curriculum, as I mentioned before, that's been digitized based upon the DECA curriculum standards. So you heard about DECA and Anelia's presentation earlier, the Digital Empowerment Community of Austin. We are sharing that in partnership with Austin Public, and it will be airing live this week as a launch. It's also available on our online resource page and available as a playlist on demand on the Austin Public website as well. In addition to that, you've heard a little bit about Digital Inclusion Week, which is this week happening right now. We have participated by providing a roll call on Friday of events, announcing all of the events happening this week. We worked with our city partners, Nehemiah Pitts III and Colleen Billiot from the city, as well as my team. We are providing support to the poster contest effort by accepting those submissions and keeping track of those for the judging committee. And we're also part of the planning of that process. We are providing, you heard a little bit about this earlier, an access hotline, which is open to the public from 10 to 2, was on Monday and is made available again on Friday, where our citizens can call in with their basic tech needs. And today we hosted a very robust session called Behind the Scenes, Forging Virtual Performance Pathways in COVID-19. We brought together production leaders, artists, performers, brought them all to the table to talk about the challenges of moving performance art into the virtual realm, and to also talk about their successes and share out tips and tricks. We had Austin Public on the line, we had Guy and Jessica Forsyth, Texas Folklife, members of our team, etc. So that was incredible. And lastly, my colleague Jess Ross and Miss Amelia Krishnan worked together to put out several Get Out the Vote PSAs this week in an effort to encourage all of our citizens to get out and vote. To contact us, sky.downing@austinfree.net. austinfree.net is our website, and on Facebook, just austinfreenet. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you for joining in with Lightning Talks and sharing a little bit more about digital empowerment, Digital Inclusion Week, and all of the things that are happening. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Here's a little lesson that I learned just now through all of that with Zoom. Timings on PowerPoints don't work at all in Zoom. So I had my little timer and the laps going. That's a lot of work to keep up with, but you all did a great job staying on time. So thank you all. If we have a question or two, we could take them now. I know we're going to have the breakout as well that DECA is leading, so we'll have time in there for questions also. Any burning questions right now? And again, we'll share out all the presentations and stuff after also. Okay, they're gonna load up your breakout room with questions. Let me tell you what's happening for the rest of this time. So we've been talking about action teams for a while within the ecosystem, and we are ready to get those moving. And we have a bunch of folks who have signed up to participate. We have folks that are interested in learning more. I have some fabulous volunteers who have joined on today to help lead some discussions to start to talk about what these might look like moving forward and how we start to move along this continuum. Where is my continuum? There's our continuum of the ecosystem model. So, you know, a lot of what we've been doing over the past several years is still this kind of networking, learning who's doing what, learning what all these networks are, learning how we might be able to possibly cooperate, having some cooperation here or there, maybe some coordination or collaboration here or there, but using these action teams as a way to really start to figure out, do we have some common goals? Do we have some common things that we can work on collectively in our ecosystem to start to move the needle on some different aspects of our work? So this is part of what will happen in the breakout, some of the conversations that will happen. Let me give you my reminders here. We'll head back to the Jamboard at some point. If I'll share that link out later. I'll go to past versions. I'll figure out what we did. But don't forget to send any community announcements or things that you want to make sure gets shared out with everybody else afterwards, or stick them in the chat and we'll get that included. We'll share all this stuff out afterwards. So don't hesitate to send things and be on the lookout for that afterwards. So in theory, we have breakout rooms that are named by these, but shorter because there's not this many characters to be able to rename your breakout rooms. And with the latest version of Zoom, which maybe you upgraded to, my fingers are crossed, you can choose. It's a choose your own adventure. You can choose your own breakout room. I'm going to open the breakout room so that maybe you can see that. Emily is going to stick around in the main room and help get people to breakout rooms if by chance your options are you're not seeing options or you're not able to move yourself. You're also going to be able to head in a breakout room, come back out, go to another breakout room if you want to mix around. We're not coming back at the end, so there's no wrap up or end when your breakout room is done or you're tired of us all or whatever. Go forth and finish out your Digital Inclusion Week fabulously. And again, we'll send all of this stuff out afterwards. So with that, head into breakout rooms, go forth, brainstorm, have fun. Thanks, everybody.